So our first keynote speaker this afternoon is going to be Heather Kendall-Miller. Can we give it up? Heather is a Dena'ina Athabascan and a tribal member of the native village of Dillingham. Since 1993, she has worked as a staff attorney of the Native American Rights Fund, where she practices exclusively in the area of tribal rights and subsistence. Although she retired from the practice of law 3 years ago, she came back out of retirement to work on preserving the Katie John cases that upheld subsistence fishing rights. Please give a warm welcome to Heather.
Thank you. Hello, my friends. I'm happy you have eaten well today for the third day. And I thank you so much, Hine, Native Movement, your organizers, for inviting me to be here, to be with you. These 2.5 days have been medicine for me. To be in a room where I hear love language. And it's the love language that resonates most in my soul. It is that love language that when I stepped back from my profession as an attorney, serving Native people, that I committed myself to living in daily reverence for this beautiful life that we have and the blessings of this life. And it was something that I realized was such a gift to finally get to the point in my life where I could walk into that state of being an elder. Because I had heard this said long before I became an elder, that to be an elder is to walk in reverence. Now there's something to that, because we have lived long enough to develop life experience and to be chewed up and spit out and, you know, having to be in the wars, if that's what you choose, or overcome our own generational trauma. All of the things about our indigenous self that we love so much are also frequently those things that we carry with us and have to overcome at some state. When I stepped back, I was at a point in my life where I really had to. I had been engaged in advocacy for so long that I had become a really angry person. And I was not doing the important work of self-care. And I can tell you that listening to so many of you talk about the importance of wellness and self-care is wonderful, because that really is so important for purposes of how do we sustain ourselves as we move through this world, dealing with these really challenging times right now. Now, the thing that I think I learned most in my years of advocacy, and what always brought me back to a place of being centered, was that Indigenous people are so spiritual. We are spiritual people. Our worldview is about reciprocal relationship. We love the earth. We love the mother that feeds us, who provides, who cares for us, who has gifted us beautiful relations, plants. What beautiful teachers they are. Not only do they feed us, give us the resources to build our homes, our clothes to keep us warm, they teach us. They are mystical teachers, and they teach us. As do our animal and fish and bird relatives. They are always talking to us, and I heard many other speakers say the same. We are connected, as Megan mentioned on our first day. We are connected, and we cannot but feel the pain of our relations right now. They're crying out to us. Earth is in pain. And you don't have to be indigenous to be an empath and to feel this. This is the state of the world we are living in right now. And it's a hard place. Because there are so many that are in pain and will continue to be in pain. Not just our brothers and sisters in Gaza or in the Ukraine or in different parts of the world. It's our relations that can't get upriver because they can't breathe. Our fish relations, they're being caught out in the deep seas and thrown overboard by trawlers. We heard that yesterday or the day before too. We are being reminded that we are so far out of balance right now that the future, our future is really in question. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that and to know that we are out of balance. Now, in my own, I'm going to get to, in a minute, talking about subsistence and the work that we have yet to do. But before I can go there, I have to share a little bit about my own personal journey. Because it's only because I stopped and I did the work that I needed to do these past 3 years that it gave me the ability to come back again and once again say, it's time, I have to step and serve. I was a broken individual by the time I finally retired. I had to have a back fusion. Three discs had pretty much collapsed. And this is all the result, of course, that we carry our stress in our bodies and we eventually get sick if we don't take care of ourselves. Well, that's what had started to happen to me. I missed the first Just Transition Symposium because I had just retired and I was in the process of turning off the world and going inward and digging deep and trying to reconnect to myself. And wonderfully and miraculously, I was able to do that. I had some help. I actually had the help of plants. And I chose to go deep and to surrender so that I could come out on the other end, so that I could heal myself and come back and serve some more. That work is not easy. It takes a lot of courage. It's scary because it requires us to confront so much about ourselves and the accountability that we need to choose to have in our own lives before we can fully heal to do the work on behalf of others. My journey took me through that process, and I have had beautiful mystical experiences for the past 3 years where Spirit has been communicating with me that we are so blessed. We are part of the divine. We are part of divine purpose. And we have to remind ourselves sometimes that our spiritual care is as important as the actual advocacy and everything else, right? We did hear this from several people, and that's why I love being in a room full of indigenous people. We speak the same language. We speak the language, the love language of relationships. The relationships. Now, one of the things that I did in my first few months after retiring is like, finally I got to read the books that I wanted to read. I'd been so busy practicing law so many years that my lens had become a lens focusing on law. So I went back and I started reading about all the developments in sciences. And it was wonderful. And one of the topics that had always intrigued me that has just exploded in recent years is quantum physics. Oh my God. Oh my God. How beautiful is that? That Western science is now essentially being able to validate the indigenous worldview belief system that we have always possessed, right? Carlos Rovelli is a quantum physicist, and he writes beautifully. He writes in a way that lay people can understand. And he's written 3 books. One of them is like the 7 Principles of Quantum Physics, and another one's on Hegel-Land. But he said something that just kind of like gave me permission to just breathe again. And what it was is that in quantum physics, at the most minute level, the particle level, where things are not just waves, or it's all about consciousness that creates the outcome, everything is relative to something else. Nothing exists in separation. Nothing is alone. It's all relative to something else. Now, doesn't that give you some kind of comfort to know that we are that connected? We are in relationship with not just something else, but with everything else. Everything else. So then what should be, how do we then take that and learn how to use it in our daily lives to help affect and change the world in ways that we want, in ways that make it a kinder place, a more loving place? And I think Doug was trying to say that the other day when he mentioned we have to awaken our will. Now, and when I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's right. Because that is taking our spiritual, our conscious ability to co-create and exercising our will and putting it out there into the world, as Allison, the doctor, was describing beautifully in her breakout, and using prayer, ceremony, intention, the things that we use to create with. And as others have also said, then we create a collective vision. We create a collective vision and we bring it to life. Yes, because we are that. We are that. And we are capable of doing that. Now, I'm a trained attorney. I can't say that I love the profession, but it has given me certain tools that I have used in the past to try to seek a level of justice. That was hard fought for, and by no means has it been the justice that Indigenous people should and are entitled to, should have. The tools of using the law to shift and shape policy are only so good, and it's because the institutions that they rely upon, the court systems, judicial systems, the whole makeup of the hierarchy of governments and such, these are all fabrications, but they're the world that we live in the sense that these are the structures that we have to navigate through, as many of you are choosing to do this afternoon by going on the Hill and lobbying, and thank you very much for that. So, coming back out of retirement to once again help craft a permanent solution for subsistence. Those here probably have a better understanding than, the average person walking up and down the streets today, the real threats these days to our ways of life. The warming temperatures that are preventing our fish from getting back, the fact that they're being taken by trawlers out in the ocean, the fact that we are losing our generational knowledge and not being able to pass it on through fish camps and processing and all the things that we identify with, and the fact that this represents such a severe and serious loss to the planet and us. One way of being able to respond to this threat, and it is a very real threat, because unfortunately there are many people who do not appreciate or understand or respect or love the natural world like we do. And in fact, they want to flatten all that and reduce down to something much, much less than what it is. And unfortunately, we currently have a state governor who has directed his administration to take very hostile litigation position against what is commonly referred to as the Katie John cases, which interpreted Title VIII of ANILCA as requiring the federal government to extend the priority for subsistence to fishing. Never been perfect fix, but it has been the line in the sand. Well, the state has chosen to attempt to attack those cases again. And so, in our litigation, once again, we are going to have to try to defend these decisions that were decided many years ago. But we are in a very vulnerable position because the United States Supreme Court 3 years ago undermined the legal foundation of the Katie John cases when it decided that Mr. Sturgeon, a non-native sports hunter, could use his airboat on federal waters in a national park. You're like, what? How does that relate to subsistence? Well, let me just tell you, it does. And the Supreme Court said the federal government does not have jurisdiction to regulate waters under what's known as the Reserved Waters Doctrine. And with that holding, although it left the Katie John decisions in place by virtue of a footnote, said we're not touching that today, they undermined the legal foundation. So it's now hanging in the balance. And Mr. Sturgeon and the state has come back in their next series of cases to challenge the validity of the Katie John cases altogether. And since the legal foundation has already been found to be illegal, I think it's a fair assessment to assume that when this case gets up to the Supreme Court will once again find that the federal government does not have jurisdiction. What does this mean? That means that there will be absolutely no subsistence priority for fishing in Alaska waters. None. So, it's time that we, as dreamers, as collective dreamers, choose the world we want to live in, the state we want to live in, has to be one that recognizes and permanently protects subsistence, fishing, and hunting rights in Alaska. It is who we are, and you've heard this out of the mouth of every person that has been on the stage for the past 3 days. There are many ways that we can unite together around this, but it has to manifest, and it has to start manifesting now. So I want to thank you, all of you, for hearing and responding to the call in all of the numerous ways in which you are. But I also want to say the things that you love are the things we have to help others understand. Subsistence isn't something that most people in Alaska understand anymore. It's, if it's a public policy question, how many urban folks in Anchorage have any real understanding of the importance of subsistence to our way of life? They've forgotten that. They may have had an inkling 20, 30 years ago, but not so much anymore. We have to find ways of sharing our stories. We have to find ways of inviting people in. I gotta say, I love books, and I'll name another one that I read in my early retirement years, the Robin Wall Kimmerer, Braiding Sweetgrass. What a beautiful, beautiful book. And what was so lovely about her authorship is that she invites people in. She invites them into her world and is able to show them the beauty of reciprocal relationships, so that you want to go, yeah, we have to find those ways of communicating to our neighbors, the people we think may be across the aisle from us. But we have to find ways of bringing them back, telling them our narrative, telling them our stories, why we love what we love, and why it's worth all of us choosing. I was in one of the breakouts yesterday. Clay, I think his name, the young PhD from Cantwell. It was wonderful. And one of the things he said is that we have a moral imperative. A moral imperative to act on helping to take actions to protect the things, the natural world, the things that we love. Thank you. So I'm asking you to likewise join me in co-creating this vision of protecting permanent protections. And I am going to be working with Native Movement, working with all the other groups and organizations as we activate, as we say, okay, it's time, let's come together and find a way of manifesting this out. Permanent protections. Thank you.
Chanan. We are so lucky today to not only have one, but two amazing keynotes. It is my pleasure to introduce Arias Hoyle. Known as Air Jazz, Arias is a hip-hop recording artist from Juneau, Alaska, Aquan, one who sonically manifests his Afro-Indigenous heritage through rap music. Thank you for coming.
Shia Woodzane Ka Anyat Kusani Gunachisha Kunkian Hat Yadi Stuga Khatati Kunach Yak Yuksatini Stakat Yuhan Slingit Enach Yaud Ne Aya Achsaye Guske Kwan Enach Air Jazz Ka Arias Ka AJ Achsaye Ganach Tedi Ayachat Ka Kagwantan Yadikhatsiti. Thank you all for being here. It is an honor to be representing the people here in Juneau. Of course, Aquan Anikach, huge love and respect to the Little Lake people of Juneau who inhabit Zantikahini and have been here since time immemorial. And of course, a huge gunashchish to everyone who invited me here to the Just Transition Summit. It is an honor. Today, I would like to do a keynote that is all about the art and culture of Indigenous people. And the phrase I gave to this was, art is culture. A lot of the times we see art and culture as exclusive, as there is one big way of life and heritage, and then somehow that is turned into art. Well, I'm here to show to you guys that art is actually the perfect manifestation of culture. That the mediums are what make difference for all of us, whether it be the Tlingit, the Haida, the Tsimshian, or the Caucasian. All people of Alaska experience change, and one of the fastest ways you can change a culture is through the arts. We have depicted values, that is, that we show our way of life through the arts. An excellent example of this is, of course, our amazing Indigenous artist, Crystal Whirl. Known for doing the Khat Kwani salmon plane that flies internationally now and is seen all over the world by people who are now learning the Tlingit and the Haida and the people of Alaska. There is, of course, the Kach Gashat Elizabeth Parachovich mural that you will see outside of the public library here downtown in Juneau. We have the 3 house posts, that is the 3 totems that are all bronze in front of Sea Alaska that represent the Tlingit, Haida, and Samalgich, all in one. The language and culture of all 3 of them, the Tsimshian, Haida, and Tlingit, is represented there on those totems. We now have multiple kutia around Juneau that you will see. And these are just a few examples of how your art visually and sonically manifests your people. And there are many mediums we work with, which of course brings me to the next one. Alaska art makes a difference. It is through the music, through the culture, the song and dance that you really get to display your people and let everyone know who they are, where they come from, and what they stand for. This is very important to us who want to change the world and better the environment. There are people who are here every 2 years for a special event known as Celebration that is coming up this year, where we get to have all of our Alaska natives from around the region join together in this hall and manifest their people through song, dance, and spirit. That shows that it is the arts that we display to newcomers, such as tourists, or perhaps Tlingit who are unfamiliar with their culture and are coming here to learn more about it here in Alaska. They want to have a eyes-on, hands-on experience that will manifest this culture, this way of life, this heritage. We have other amazing examples, such as Quinn Christopherson, representing the Denaina. There is a lot of other great musicians and artists, such as Bumua, who represent the Yupik, as well as Byron Nikolai, who represents the Yupik. We have the amazing Sovereign, who plays Molly of Denali, a PBS show shown all over the world to our youth. We're all getting to learn about these things and about each other. And it is through shows, music, movies, film, plays, and song that we get to learn about this. So this is just another example of how indigeneity is shown through the arts. That's how we show our culture. There's a lot of important topics that get addressed through music, through song, and through any other medium. There is, of course, the environment, the climate change that we are all experiencing right now. The glaciers are receding, carbon emissions are going up high into the atmosphere, and it is causing lots of conflict for our way of life here. Not just for humans, but for wildlife as well. Of course, our salmon run has been short. There has been lots of wildlife killed off. There are people who approve bills and laws for deforestation of the Tongass. There is this willow project that's being presented in order to extract oil from the Arctic. And there are also many individuals who choose to side against the people and actually make things harder than they have to be by not being in support of the environment and the ecosystem. This is a huge problem that a lot of us have to speak up on, and we like to address it through music as well as through public speech. MMIWG, we bring awareness to our missing, murdered Indigenous women, girls, two-spirits, and young men. A lot of us have to experience this in our families, and what better way to tell the world than to do through the arts? Something they can see, something they can hear, something they can feel that grasps onto this very important topic, to this crisis that needs to be addressed. Of course, as I mentioned, there is also the case of people in power, such as Congress, who would rather not listen to the cries of the people and instead stay true to their party. Because apparently some people would prefer to have power and work with others rather than actually help their community. It's unfortunate, though that is a reality that we have to face. And it takes the right people to stand up against it and say, this is happening to our people, and it needs to be stopped. Now, there is a flip side to all of this. I've been mentioning how artists are the ones who usually are calling out problematic behavior, and how artists are usually the ones that address these topics that are really unfortunate to the people. Though there is a flip side to that, and it's a very important one that needs to be addressed. Controversial indigenous artists. These are artists that have caused problems for their community, either through their art or for just being a bad person behind the art. You might notice that I myself am on this list, and I can explain to you why. It was 2020, I was enrolled at Cornish College of the Arts in Seattle, Washington. This was 2 years after I got to work with my amazing people, Tlingit and Haida. And I got to do music videos for them, representing them. It was titled Iqsakhanakh Kwan and Zibit. And it was because of these 2 videos I got to get some traction here in Southeast, and I was honored. However, one day when I was in Cornish and I was working alongside multiple diverse backgrounds of people, I decided to make a piece of content that was actually quite problematic for my people, alongside my friends in college. It was a music video and song titled Stairway to Hentai, and it was very problematic for the Tlingit and Haida community. It was such an outrage caused by it that I actually had to forfeit from showing new music videos at Elders and Youth because people were unsure if they could trust me as an artist by way of the arts they saw. There are other examples, of course, that you see on this list, some of which have done even worse things that are more problematic for the community. But what is that we have to say that rounds all of this up? It is to say that your art and your way of life does represent the culture. And if you go against that even once, you are a negative representation of the culture. You do not want to misrepresent the people you stand for, because unlike how some people might see it, for indigenous people, you do not separate the artist from the art. You do not separate the artist from the art. What they say, what they do, what they represent, that is on them. So if I ever said something to offend people, that can be held against me. Same goes for everyone else on this list. If they have said things, if they have done things, if they have harmed others, that's all on their track record as an artist. So you do have to remember at the end of the day that art is culture. What you say and do as a big name artist, it does matter. Which of course brings me to my discography. And this is a various discography that many people might not have heard. Some people in here might have seen some of my music videos before with Tlingit and Haida, though you might not realize that I have a whole world of music outside of that I have been doing over the years. I have dropped so far 5 of my solo projects, and they are all titled as such. Chi is Chilkat, Chill Out Chilkat, Last Chance Chilkat, Sextraterrestrial, and Manga Maniac. All of these albums have a variety of themes, topics, and representative ideas for Native culture. And that is to say that all artists, whether it be your NYO, whether it be your rapper, singer, songwriter, whether it be you're a form line artist, it is good to be versatile and to let your people know you stand for them. We want to bring change. We do not want to see our glaciers receding more than they already have. We do not want to bring harm to an already marginalized group on their own land. We do not want to stand for any bad advocacy, and we just want to be an artist at the end of the day. And that is important because you look at any big name artist that represents a culture, whether it be in the African American community with actors and rappers, whether it be in the Filipino community for those who speak Tagalog and other languages, whether it be for Alaska Natives who do all of these mediums. We put all of this out for the people. And I myself also put this out for the people. Chilkat is the Jilkat Kwan. That is my people from Tla'aquan in Alaska. I am here to stand for them at all times, and I would never want to misrepresent their name. So, in conclusion to everything I've said today, just remember, one of the biggest representations of culture is art. And we will use these arts the way we should. We will tell our stories on a totem. We will tell our stories in song. We will bring change and make a positive difference for our people. Now, I would like to perform just one song for you today. And it is titled Dream Catcher. We are here to catch our dreams and make a difference. You will be my dream catcher. You will be my dream catcher. Spirit loud that'll scream at you. You will be my dream catcher. No more nightmares, 'cause I'm right here, my dear. Hashaguni hashawatka hashagenia. Wasa duusa kuske kwani ena. Kuna tisha ka yena ticha we. Ha yakwa heya gu ya atune. Dana hatu wasigu ayanach yawata. Do ya hayi de ganku do eat ya tawaha. Kasi yayi hin khatin. Clash wasa. Clash wasa. Wa eku You will be my dream catcher. Spirit loud, let us scream at ya. Hear it now, let us recapture. Energy till we reach rapture. You will be my dream catcher. Spirit loud, let us scream at ya. Hear it now, let us recapture. Energy till we reach rapture. Lift off this transparent planet, zooted, zooming